I tell agents, please, if you're not a polyester blazer kind of person, don't be that person because no, they're going to feel that you're faking it. I feel like my content, it's not scripted. It is not planned out. I am not a planner. I am it happens when it happens.
Welcome to a private conversation with me, Steve Robbins. I'm sitting down with some of the biggest names in Indianapolis real estate. I've enjoyed these conversations immensely, and I hope you will too. A big thank you to Executive GM Ian Soroyan and his whole team for hosting us at Cunningham Restaurant Group's Commission Row and Mel Speakeasy, located in downtown Indianapolis within the Pacer Sports and Entertainment Complex. Check out the show notes to learn more. And now, my conversation with TikTok sensation and flourishing Central Indiana realtor, Summer Hudson.
I feel like I blinked and it happened, but also I'm like, God, another year. So it's like another year in real estate. God.
So, I mean, you're a baby. I started like in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure. No, thank you. Because I was going to say, you went through 2008, so.
Yes.
I didn't envy that.
Well, this last couple of years has had some similarities, just in terms of overall production out in the industry being as far down as it is.
It's weird.
Not for you.
Not for me.
Which is awesome. Wait till the market's good.
I know. Well, and it was good there when it was chaos and it was like, oh, I really like this house. And you're like, cool, I'm going to submit an offer. And they're like, yeah, 37 offers on this one house. You were like,
this week?
No, just like when the market was crazy.
Oh, right. No, yeah,
You know?
I see what you're saying.
Like I feel like that was a fairly good market. I feel like that's when all the agents jumped in.
It was pretty good.
And I feel like all the agents that jumped in when it was good are now the ones that are leaving because they didn't learn the principle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to earn your keep. I feel like in real, you know what I mean?
Well,
I feel like there's a point like you should have a terrible year or like a year that you're like, am I going to be eating ramen noodles tomorrow? I don't know.
Most new agents have a couple terrible years.
Yeah.
Most, for sure. It's tough. I mean, you're starting from scratch unless you just happen to fall right into the perfect spot.
Yeah. I feel like the ones that came in that like 3 years ago came in when it was sweet. You could just blink and have a buyer.
But the multiple offer situation was the hairy part then.
It was.
So TikTok, that's your big thing happening that has been happening for a while now. But it's big in the news right now, and we don't know exactly where it's going to go.
Yeah.
But what has your last few weeks been like as you've kind of been dealing with what could happen to your business? And I guess maybe let's just start actually with how TikTok even became a thing for you.
So I think, TikTok wasn't really on my radar for a long time when it came out because again, it was a very juvenile place to go. There was a lot of dancing, a lot of lip syncing, no thanks.
Charlie Amelia.
Yeah, I just was like, it's not my thing.
Is that her name?
I guess, yeah,
I think it is.
Yes, yeah, I think so. But it wasn't my thing. But at the time before that, I was doing Facebook Live. Facebook Live had just rolled out, and I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of a cool little tool. I went and did an open house. Nobody showed, and I was really like, great. What open houses when nobody show up? It's the worst. So I was like, I'm gonna Facebook Live the house while I'm sitting here because I have nothing else to do. And like 30 people tuned in. And I was like, what? You guys couldn't get off your couch and come see this house? And they were like, no, I have no interest in getting up off my couch, but I'll watch it. So that was kind of the very first time that I videoed a house and toured it. And then Instagram, I moved over to Instagram, and Instagram didn't have stories yet. But when it did, I was like, okay, I can do stories.
Yeah.
And then when TikTok rolled out, I didn't really do anything with it until COVID. Because we were all on lockdown. Real estate was still having to move forward regardless. Even though we weren't essential employees, we were essential for keeping the market moving.
Yeah. We were lucky in Indiana. Some states like Michigan and Pennsylvania, realtors were not essential and couldn't work for months.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing on Facebook like, we can't sell any houses. What are we going to do? And I was like, oh, thank God Indiana kept it moving because it would have been hard. But I realized at that time there were so many sellers who were like, no, you can't do a showing because I don't want somebody in my house. And I thought, well, if I mask up and I do a video tour and I send it to my clients and stuff, will that work? And they were like, yeah. So then it hit me, well, I might as well just see if I can get permission to TikTok it. Why not? It went nowhere. Nobody cared. I had no followers for like 6 months. And then I had one video go viral. And that was it. I woke up to 80,000 followers and I was like, oh my God, this is actually a thing.
What happened? Like, how did it go viral?
So I have a friend of mine, Rebecca. She's now an agent, actually.
Okay.
She was not in the housing market, but she was also a looky-loo. And so she was like, there's this really cool old historic house. It's way out in Greenfield in a cornfield. Will you go see it? And I was like, oh my God, yes. So we drove out there and I realized, like, I'm just going to TikTok my experience with this house. I probably couldn't get away with what I was TikToking now with my board rules, now that they're more governing of things.
Okay.
But when I got out there, I just put spooky music to it and I was like, look at this haunted house. I'm terrified. She's going to get me killed. And so she was like, you know, there was lots of jump scares because we would open something and it would creak. And I was just like, this place is haunted.
It was actually listed?
It was listed.
Okay.
Yeah,
and the listing agent was cool with all that?
Yeah, the listing agent was like, yeah, sure, you can video. Just, you know, now I know, like, okay, there, you know, and again, my board didn't have a say at the time because nobody else was doing it. So they were kind of like, well, we don't really know what to do with you.
Right.
So as it picked up momentum, my board was eventually like, okay, we have to have some rules around this. And they kind of catered to that. So,
okay.
But yeah, I definitely couldn't have gotten away with that now.
Okay.
So you can't go in a house and say, oh, this is haunted immediately.
Right.
So,
right.
You know, even though it was.
Was it?
Oh, heck yeah. I was like, this place is haunted. This place has some weird energy. I was like, ooh.
So you go to bed, and I think I read you had 11 followers or something, and then you wake up and you have thousands.
Yeah.
So did you have any anticipation that it was going to actually do better than some of the other videos? Or?
No, I literally almost choked when I woke up. I was like, oh my God, okay, here we are. And so, I mean, I had hundreds and hundreds of comments and people engaging, like, oh, I think it's haunted. I swear I saw a ghost. Like, you know, just interacting. And that's when it hit me like, oh, people actually want to see these houses, especially if there's some kind of history to it or.
Well, was it because the house was different, or was it because your editing or your video was
I didn't even
interesting?
edit it. It had, but
well, you said you have jump scares and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, it definitely wasn't my editing because I didn't edit anything. It was pretty in raw form.
Okay.
But I think it was captivating and that people were also terrified as they were going with me. But then the property itself was really cool. It was an old milking farm.
Okay.
So they had the old barn out back with all the equipment still there. It just was really creepy. So I think I always tell people when they're asking me, what do I do about TikTok? I always tell them people are inherently nosy. I don't care who they are. Everybody has a little bit of nosiness about them. And it's like, can you capture what they're really, truly nosy about? And for me, that's been the historic properties, the unique properties, the ones that you drive by on Meridian, you know, in Meridian Kessler, and you go, oh my God, what do they do for a living? That house is gigantic. And so once I realized that, okay, people are interested in the different.
Right.
Then that's kind of when it birthed what it is now. So.
Yeah. And so you wake up and you have all these comments and all these followers. How quickly were you able to figure out what to do with it? I mean, were you responding to every comment? Like, how much were you trying to engage right away versus you were like, this is all of a sudden a brand new world. You haven't done this before.
Yeah.
Like, you're brand new to it. What do you do?
I feel like I automatically, just as someone who understood social media somewhat just from Instagram and Facebook, I recognize like, okay, people are reaching out and this is my opportunity to connect. Real estate is all about connecting with people. It's really more connection than it is sales. I don't understand why we're considered a sales industry when it's really connection. And I thought, okay, great. I have 600 comments to work through. And I went through and I tried to either like or comment or connect with that person so that it gave me the ability to form that relationship with them, for them to come back and maybe watch another video. I couldn't guarantee that my next video would be worth anything, but I thought, okay, well, at least I've they understand I'm an actual person,
Yeah.
and that maybe they'll come back for my next video just to see if I did something crazy.
Yeah. That's
So
what I was thinking about. Not calling you this because obviously you're not, but the idea that it's a one-hit wonder situation when you have a viral, anything go
yeah,
viral, it's like you're sitting there thinking, how do I top this? How
yeah,
do I make it happen again? Did I just catch lightning in a bottle?
yeah.
Like, what kind of pressure did you feel to keep, like, okay, now I got an audience, I got to do something?
Yeah, I was like, okay, well, I guess I need to do again. I just was like, okay, it was almost like a drug. You're like, where's the next fix? Like, okay, now I've got to figure out how do I either top this video or make something like it or keep the content in that same vein.
Yeah.
And so luckily there was a couple mid-centuries that came up that I was like, okay, I'm going to go here. And the agents, it is still difficult to show properties on TikTok. You have a lot of agents that still don't understand what the goal is with TikTok. They still think it's a really juvenile place to go. And so,
It's difficult what do you mean by it's difficult?
getting permission.
Okay.
Getting permission from other agents can be difficult. I've had agents that say, oh, I've already paid for a marketing package. I've got videos galore. And I'm like, I understand that, but this is different. And they just are like, no, thanks, I've got it. And I'm like, okay,
Is it because is it usually a control issue, or they want to make sure, how much are they trying to edit what you say or don't say about their listing?
I feel like in the beginning, I think there was a lot of control issues. Like, well, you can't say, don't say this, and don't make sure you whatever. And I tried really hard because, again, not only do I have to have a relationship with my clients, but we also have to have relationships with other agents. So I didn't want to go taking off all the other agents and make it, because I had to have them at least be on my side and understand the vision.
Yeah.
So for a long time, I kind of treaded lightly on how I showcased their listing. I always made sure that they had listing credit because, legally my board says I only have to give the agency, the brokerage credit. I don't have to give the listing agent credit. But to me, I feel like that's not how you help each other out.
Right. Absolutely.
And so it's kind of a mutual thing. Hey, you got a great listing. Hey, I got some buyers, and let's make magic. So I think in the beginning it was trial and tribulation for
I'm
sure.
sure.
Yeah, it was rough.
What was the next video after the first viral one?
I couldn't even tell you. I just know that was the one that will forever be burned in my brain because I just woke up like, oh my God, 80,000 people just liked it. It was like, so, and I think the algorithm did me a favor because once you're viral once, then the algorithm goes, oh, people are interested in this. And so they kind of keep coming back. And I don't even know that it was 80,000 people. I just know that when I woke up, it was just an astronomical amount of people. And I thought, okay, this is a lot of eyes on a listing, and eventually I was always a heavy buyer's agent. So my goal was always like, okay, well, I'll get buyers to want to buy these properties. And then slowly it's been more of becoming a tool for me as a listing agent. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of shifted.
What kind of business were you doing, volume production, prior to all this versus the year right after it happened?
So,
what was the jump?
My first year in real estate, I did 24 transactions, and that's pretty big for first year. Yeah, it was a really good year.
Yes, it is.
And I've always, thanks. And I always hovered in that like 30 to 40 transactions a year range.
Okay.
Right before TikTok, I think I had close to maybe 60 closings. I was hitting towards around 60 closings a year.
Still really good.
Yeah, really good. And I think a lot of that was still Instagram and utilizing social media. Inherently, I've always had an underbelly of social media helping in my real estate career. TikTok, though, this year, if I count mutual releases, just count deals, I'd say I'm at like 115 transactions for 2024.
Okay.
So I feel like it definitely propelled forward. I've had more listings than I've ever had before. So it's, and I formed a team. So I also have whatever transactions they've been doing from TikTok as well. So it's been.
So 115 in 2024, and we're into 2025. Do you have a goal?
No.
Do
No.
you think you'll surpass 115?
I do.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Which I'm excited about. I mean, it's kind of cool to,
Yeah.
have this, I feel like there's so many agents who are always worried about where their next closing's coming from. And I've been really fortunate that I don't always have to think, I may not have a good month. I mean, August of this 2024 was terrible. I was like, oh my God, this is the worst. But then, everything has its cycles.
Yeah.
So,
Well, so we're in the middle of this unknown situation where at this point we're past what the ban date was going to be, and they've held off on that for now.
yeah.
Tell me what the last month or two has been like, how you've prepared for all this, the possibility, where you sit even today with still being unknown, but like at least in a pause on what might happen. How are you feeling?
So Wu-Tang said it best when they said diversify your assets.
Exactly.
Or diversify your bonds.
And have you been diversifying?
Oh yeah. I just the very second there was whisper of a ban, I was like, okay, I can't put all my eggs in this basket. And I've also always had agents say, well, without TikTok, what would you be?
Of course.
And I'm like, well, I'd still be an agent and I'd still find a way to kill it because I just have the hustle blood in me. And so I feel like no matter where I go, there I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really super worried about it. Do I have to, figure out a different path? Maybe, but I've started using YouTube. I've gone back to some Instagram reels. I don't love Meta a whole lot, but it is what it is. And I've started exploring other apps. There's hundreds of apps.
Livinate and Red Note, how much are you dealing with either of those? Red Note, of course, you have to speak Chinese, so that's a problem.
I'm like, oh my God.
I saw that Duolingo's subscription rate to learning Chinese was up like some ridiculous amount to learn Mandarin.
Yeah. Well, I went over to Red Note, and it's sort of the same, but at the end of the day, it doesn't help me. In that the algorithm is based off of being over in China. And again, you have to speak Mandarin to understand half the functions of the platform. I feel like there were a lot of knee-jerk reactions when the ban happened and people just flooded to the next place that they felt was similar.
Yeah.
But there are other apps. There's one called Fanbase.
Okay.
It looks just like TikTok.
Okay.
I don't know why people didn't hop over there because it's just the same. But there's also a new app coming out called Neptune that they're identical to TikTok. They're American owned. They're rolling out in the summer. I mean, here's the thing. Like MySpace was cool. Mm-hmm. Facebook came and killed MySpace. Instagram came in and kind of took over Facebook until Zuckerberg was like, I'll buy Instagram because I don't want it to kill my Facebook.
Right.
And then TikTok, you know what I mean? Like there'll always be an evolution. And I think as agents, it's our responsibility, especially in the digital age, to stay at one step ahead of the game. And I think that's why I've been lucky, is that I kept staying ahead of the trend by taking a chance and saying, okay, what's Instagram? Like, why should I be posting there? And then same with TikTok. And now it'll be Neptune or whatever platform comes out.
Right.
But again, I'm not putting all my eggs into TikTok anymore.
Right.
Not that I was really, but I'm really heavily making sure all of my content is everywhere.
And what's the reason? Because you know so much more than I do that Instagram, you're not as big of a fan of Meta. What about it? Because a lot of people focus on Instagram.
I think for me, I don't love Instagram and Facebook because we, at the end of the day, are a product for them. I think what people gravitated to TikTok for was there's censorship. I mean, there's violations and guidelines. And,
yes.
But the censorship was different. It was, don't bully people. Don't say horrible things to one another. Where it's, Facebook, God forbid I say the word mattress, the next 15 ads on my page are going to be mattress companies. And so I feel like with Instagram and Facebook, the algorithm worked for people for a while, but I feel like they've lost their vision. And again, we're now the product, and I don't love that. I don't love that the sense of community is kind of gone.
Okay.
In the platform.
Yeah.
You know?
So what kind of advice do you have for agents that are trying to? I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this question probably no less than a zillion times.
Nope, that's all right. I'll answer a zillion and one more.
Well, what advice do you have for agents that need to figure out social media and they're struggling with it?
Honestly, I always tell people you don't have to be good at social media and you don't even have to do social media. Honestly, I think agents keep trying to stuff themselves, a square peg into a round hole. I have a girlfriend that she's out of Texas and she kills the open house game. Almost all her business comes from open houses, and I would never. No, thank you. I will. Another agent can take all the open houses they want from me. Um, but I always tell them, I think people are in a digital age where it's not even the social media aspect of it. People are looking for connection. We've lost connection. We don't mail letters anymore. We barely look at each other across the dinner table because we're on our phones. And I think that at the end of the day, it's how do you connect to people authentically?
Yeah.
And so that they feel who you are and connect to that. Again, connection in real estate. So if you're good at open houses, do open houses. If you're good at social media, do social media. If you are referral based and all your past clients sing you praises, and love on your past clients. Like, I would be lying if I said that everybody's cut out for social media. They aren't. There are just some people who are. My husband doesn't have not one single social media account, and he won't. Like, he hates it. So, and I'm never going to force him to do it. So
you don't really look at it in real estate as a necessary evil. That's how a lot of agents look at it. It's like, yeah, I hate real social media, but I feel like I have to.
I mean, I feel like it can't hurt to learn. It can't hurt to try. You're either going to fall behind or at least stay treading water. I think treading water is better than falling behind for sure. But now you can hire social media companies. You don't even have to. I mean, ChatGPT is a thing now. AI is a thing now. I mean, really, social media doesn't have to be hard. But I think even if social media keeps going and digital and AI gets crazy and the digital age keeps getting deeper and deeper, and we need to stay ahead of the curve, which I agree we should, there's still something about just sitting across the table from somebody that I think people take for granted. And so I will never poo-poo on the agent who doesn't do social media, because maybe they kill it at, something else. Mailers. Oh my God, kill me. I'd never send a mailer out. No, thank you. But there are people who.
Well, but what were you doing before you? Well, I guess you said you had kind of been using Facebook and Instagram really to get up to 60 transactions.
Yeah.
You were already using it, just
yeah.
It was not what it became with TikTok.
Well, I'm a MySpace baby.
Are you?
Yeah.
I never really did MySpace much.
Oh man, I'm a MySpace baby. So I mean, I was in there like doing HTML code to make my background so freaking cool.
That's cool.
And I think that I feel like agents that are just at that cusp of being a millennial, like an elder millennial, I feel like we are the ones who are understanding the social aspects of social media.
Yeah.
I feel like anybody that's kind of pre-MySpace, those might be the people that are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually I'm going to be an out-of-date agent somehow. I mean, at some point I'm going to be like, how do I use my remote? I mean, I think it's going to happen to everybody. Yeah. So
what kind of structure how much of it's planned? Like, you have the next month's worth of content?
Oh, absolutely not.
Do you have the next weeks or even days worth of content planned, or it just is completely organic? As it happens, it happens?
It is what it is.
There are no scripts.
Nope, no scripts, no. And maybe that's part of my brand has been.
Well, the authenticity is definitely your brand.
Yeah.
Which is whatever you talk to anybody, they're going to say, you want to kill it in social media, you have to be authentic.
Yep.
And like, you're living this.
Yep. I am very much, I tell agents, please, if you're not a polyester blazer kind of person, don't be that person, because they're going to feel that you're faking it.
Right.
And so I feel like my content it's not scripted. It is not planned out. I am not a planner. I am it happens when it happens. I do have a regimen. Every day I get up in the morning, I check the BLC, what's hit the market today, what it hit it when I was sleeping last night. And then I thumb through everybody's like, you are insane. You look at every single house that hits the market in the morning.
In a particular area, or like all of Mybor?
All of if it's when I get up in the morning, if there's 73 houses, I am literally just, and it's gotten now to where it's almost muscle memory where I click through and I can instantly be like, oh, this is a good one, or
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
that's okay. So I try to go through, and if I find 10 houses that I think are cool, I'll message those 10 agents and say, hey, can I TikTok them? Sometimes all 10 agents go, no, you can't. And I have to start all over again and find 10 more.
What
So
percentage of people say yes versus no?
when I first started, it was like for every 30 houses, I got one.
Really?
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, it took I don't think people understand how much energy it really took to get to where I am when it came to getting listing agents to let me. Now it's a little easier because other agents have, talked to other agents and been like, hey, you should have Summer TikTok your property. I'd say even now it's still probably a 40% yes,
Okay.
60% no.
It's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, it's,
It should be 90% yes.
I know.
Maybe 100.
Well, and the further away I get from Indianapolis Metro, where I do most of my clientele,
Yeah.
The further away I go, the more they're like, who are you? No.
Right.
So I feel like the agents that know me and follow me, they get it, and they're an easy yes. And then you get an agent who does 10 houses a year and they have a cool listing one time, and I call and they go, no. I mean, but no, nothing's scripted. Nothing is ever thought out ahead of time. It's very
organic.
Yeah.
As it happens.
Yep. It just is what it is.
Well, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing a little bit about that. I know there's going to be a lot of people interested, and there's so many people that are in real estate that are trying to figure out how to leverage something that really is free in a way that there's never really been a tool like it, where you can expose yourself to so many people for free.
Yeah.
And building a brand has never been easier.
No, I have another agent that I love her. She does the polyester, very polished. But at the end of the day, if you could put her in a garden with free range chickens and, granola mom tries to detox her body all the time with all these elixirs and teas and essential oils. And I've told her multiple times, that's what you need to lean into. You need to start doing videos. And her response has always been, well, what if somebody judges me, or what if our colleagues make fun of me, or what if, and I'm like, Ann, are they paying your bills? No. Then who cares? Because what'll happen is the social media the algorithm does a lot for you.
Yeah.
The algorithm will bring you those people that match your energy. And so that's why I always tell people, who cares what you look like or think, on social media, because the algorithm's already going to start pushing your content to those people that like chickens and like essential oils and olive oil pooling and whatever else. And so my job is easier because I don't have to fish all the time. Like,
right.
I just go to my back door and go, oh, there's a pond here.
You're attracting.
Yeah. And so I think if, agents understood that social media, again, is a connection, and they're looking for identical people that think like them, once you're yourself, the people will flock to you no matter what that is. So
before real estate, you had some interesting careers.
Lord.
There's probably some crossover, actually, but we'll talk about that.
A lot of crossover.
Well, so tell me, I ran through an interesting list, but kind of give me a rundown of what you did prior to real estate.
Oh, man. So when I lived in Florida, I was born and raised in Florida in a smaller-ish town.
Okay.
When I was there, I was going to school for psychology. Took a little hiatus, got my hair license, and I was like, okay, I'll do hair while I'm putting myself through college. So I've had the craziest jobs, but hairdresser was one of them for a really long time. I think I got my license in like 2006 or something, and had always done hair in the background. My first big girl job was working for a methadone clinic as an addiction counselor. Left the methadone clinic and went and worked for CPS as a child protective investigator, removing children from unsafe situations. I did that for about 4 years.
Wow.
That was a soul-sucking job. I loved the job. Loved it because I got to help families, but it was exhausting.
I can only imagine.
Oh, yeah.
This is all in Florida?
This is all in Florida.
Which is known for being a little wacky.
Yeah, Florida man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You met a few?
There's not enough podcast time in the world for what I've seen. It's been crazy. But I eventually left CPS and went to a maximum facility women's prison and was a life coach, I guess. It was for it was like the part of the prison that was mental health. So it was people that the voices told them to hurt somebody, or like just really.
So methadone, child protection, maximum security, life coach. There's a theme. I mean, did you know you were going into social work, so to speak? Was that the thought coming out of school?
No. I just kind of
fell into it.
I just fell into it. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I'm a helper.
Yeah.
I think, who was it? It was Mr. Rogers said, always look for the helpers, right? And I feel like my whole life, I'll be in the grocery aisle, not making eye contact, like, no, don't make eye contact. And I will get tapped on the shoulder to be told somebody's life story. And I'm like, I didn't ask you, but okay. And I end up like having this whole conversation with a complete stranger about how terrible their life is or something crazy that's happened. And it's just been a common thread for me, is being the helper or being the safe place for people.
The safe place, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always loved the profession. And when I moved to ND, I worked for community health. I worked in Gallahue mental health, I was also a life coach kind of situation, life skills specialist.
Okay.
And I worked with clients with heavy acute mental health issues, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder that's, with hallucinations and mania.
Wow.
And so I loved that job so much. It brought me a lot of joy. But I think once politics get involved, Medicaid, Medicare, having to chart things, and you lose the connection with people, and it starts becoming like we need to make sure we chart and people become a number. It was very hard for me to swallow. And I think at that point I was like, I need a change. I can't do this. And a good friend of mine, at the time, she was doing real estate stuff, and she was like, you should be, I was cutting her hair because I had, of course I was always cutting hair.
Were you doing that all the way through?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had my own salon.
Okay.
At the time. So I worked my day job, and then I'd get off at night and cut hair, or on the weekends. And she was sitting in my chair, and she's like, you should do real estate. And I was like, ugh, no, that sounds terrible. And she was like, no, I think you could do it.
And what year was this?
This was 2015. I wasn't ready yet.
Okay.
I was like, no, I don't want a commission job. I don't, I need the income. I had all these excuses, and I'm afraid. And so finally, once I'd had enough of the governing bodies of the hospital kind of slapping my hand for, like, you didn't get your paperwork done. Well, I'm sorry, this person was in crisis, and I sat with them an extra hour. I'm not going to bill them for an extra hour of being kindness. I think once I hit that wall and I was like, I'm done, I had to hit a wall. And I hit the wall and I was like, okay, I'm desperate. Whatever you want me to do. So that's when another group of friends of mine, they believed in me, and they were like, we think you could do this. We'll actually help you go through real estate school.
Okay.
And that was in 2017. And I rushed through as quickly as I could. And at that time, I worked 3 jobs, because I went to community during the day, did hair on nights and weekends, and was doing my real estate license courses and stuff late at night. And I just was like, do or die, sink or swim.
Tell me a little bit more about being a life coach. Particularly, with a women's maximum security prison, and then with mental health, but how different was that, by the way, one versus the other?
You mean between being here in Indiana?
The prison and the mental health institute.
They're all one and the same.
Okay.
I think I realized, I wish there could be some kind of I wish I could do a documentary almost. If I had all the time in the world, I would do a documentary, because I don't think people realize CPS is the first step. And I almost did it kind of backwards. Like, I saw the adults as addicts because their childhood trauma was terrible. And so then I went backwards to childhood trauma, and I saw these children that were so pure and innocent, just their lives being wrecked because of their parents' choices. And then seeing those kids grow up to be in the prison system. And I think it really changed my perspective on, again, connectivity, like how people connect. And, I could easily be like, yeah, everybody that's in prison deserves to be in prison, let them rot there. But when you recognize, like, well, their parents beat them all the time, or there was something terrible that happened to them in their childhood that changed them as a person developmentally. I mean, it actually changes their brain chemistry.
Yep.
I think you start to have a little more compassion with how you do things. And so I feel like that, in a way, that compassion and that patience has helped me be a better real estate agent. Deb Kent was originally my mentor, and she and her wife, Jamie, always coined the term closing psychosis. They were like, oh, people get psychosis when they get closer to closing. And I thought, oh, I don't know about that. And it's true. The closer to closing people get, the crazier they get. You're dealing with big money. Their negative coping skills come flying out. They're eating chocolate cake. They're divorcing. They're talking about divorce. And so I feel like I have the capability that maybe other agents don't have to remove myself emotionally from the situation and just look at the situation and go, hey guys, I know you feel like this is a lot. This is a lot of money. It's a big deal, but you can do it. You're an adult. We can get through this, And I think that compassion and that ability to step back and take your emotion out of the transaction and just look at it like, how can I help them, is a lost art sometimes in real estate.
It's so huge at being able to. Can you regulate your own emotions?
Yeah.
A lot of agents can't. I don't know about most, but a lot can't.
Commission Row offers an unforgettable dining experience with high-quality steaks, a raw bar, and exquisite seafood curated by an expert culinary team. The menu, designed to delight every palate, features seasonal ingredients paired with an extensive wine and spirit selection. Open weekdays from 4 p.m. and for brunch at 10 a.m. on weekends. Continue the evening at Mel's Speakeasy below. After dining, enjoy an after-dinner drink with a wide selection of wines, cocktails, and spirits. Open daily from 5 p.m., Mel's is perfect for relaxing and unwinding. Commission Row and Mel's Speakeasy. An unforgettable dining experience awaits.
And if you can't even regulate your own, how the heck are you going to? I always talk about how good agents are the ones that are able to smooth the rough edges, not make it worse.
Yep.
And there's so many that, unfortunately, there's a problem that happens and they turn the molehill into a mountain.
Yep. Because they're getting emotionally involved in a situation that they don't need to be involved in. And so it's like...
It's the opposite of your job.
Yep, it is.
In my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like I have a lot of baby agents on my team right now that they'll call me and go, can you believe that? And I'm like, nope. I need you to remove your emotion out of this. If your buyer says, I don't care, this house is going to fall down tomorrow, and you think it's a terrible house, the only thing you can do is present them with the evidence and say, here's this terrible house. You can buy it if you want. I'm just warning you, but if you want to buy it, that's on you. And you have to walk away knowing that that's their choice. They're an adult.
Yeah.
And so I'm always telling them, get your emotions out of this. Because, it's hard not to, because you care. But again, I think, they're adults making adult decisions. So
yeah, they are. So how did the life coaching experience and the skills developed help you become a better realtor? You mentioned that they transfer, and I can imagine that they do. But what's a couple examples of where it really comes into play?
I think it's, when you're doing a transaction, it's a lot of money. And I think when you toy with people's money, it makes them a little squirrely. And so, again, it's that making sure they understand. I try really hard to normalize mental health in the process and say to them, I've had a wife call me. I thought I was going to stroke out. It was the one time I could not take my emotion out because I was like, why would you tell me this? She called and said, I just want you to know after closing day, I'm serving my husband with divorce papers. And I'm like, why would you, don't buy a house? And she was like, nope, I'm just going to, this is what he wants. So I'm going to give it to him. And then I'm serving him with papers the day after closing. Wow. And she's like, but don't tell him. What? You just loaded something like that onto me and I'm supposed to just, and a couple of days later, I sat on it. And a couple of days later, I was like, I know you feel this way, but you might not feel this way. And you might hate him right now because, it's a big transition. And sure enough, we got to closing, and the next day she was like, I'm not divorcing him. I love him so much. I just was feeling some type of way. And I'm like,
Wow.
therapy helps.
Yeah,
Therapy would be great.
Well, she had you as a therapist.
Right? Yeah. So
That's a big part of our job sometimes.
it's a lot.
I mean, that's what transfers.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get buyers that are younger and their parents are involved and they really want to be the big kid and do the transaction on their own, but yet mom and dad are impeding. That's a fine line you got to walk there too, because you piss off the parents, then that's a whole. But yeah, I feel like
that is a whole different.
Yeah, I feel like that's a whole different thing. But I feel like the life coaching has taught me to be patient with people's emotions, and again, recognizing that's their emotion and not mine. Again, it's that regulating yourself. It's kind of like, this is not my monkey. Like you go ahead and sleep with that at night.
Right.
Just let me know what you want to do in the morning, So
how much is your business, you talked about it briefly, but started to shift towards listings? What's been the mix and how much of it is listings today?
So I would say out of 50, 60 transactions, maybe 10 of them were listings. I was never a listing agent.
Okay.
But I also didn't market myself as a listing agent either. I think for a long time, I just wanted to make sure I was catering to buyers because I knew that was that was the easier fruit to grab, especially as an agent. I mean, that's
Definitely.
the easier.
Yeah.
I think it took some years and I think any agent, it takes a few years to get under your belt to get to the listing side of things.
Yeah.
I have 7 listings coming up for next month.
Okay.
So, and
Congrats.
they're all from TikTok or some kind of, I have one seller that they didn't even find me from TikTok on a video of houses. I actually did a hidden gem video where I, showcase something in the community that's cool, a new restaurant, a new bar, a new something. And I did a corn dog place.
Okay.
A Korean corn dog place.
A Korean corn. Where is this place?
In Greenwood. It is delicious.
Really?
It is so good. It's over near off of 31. It is. I can't remember the name of it, but if you Google Korean corn dog place, it's so good. So I did a TikTok video of the Korean corn dog place, and that person happened to go to the corn dog place that weekend because they saw the TikTok. Or no, they didn't see the TikTok. They went to the Korean place. There was a line wrapped around the building. And when he was like, why are there so many people here? They were like, this girl TikToked it. And the whole line was like, yeah, Summer TikToked it. And he was like, well, if you can bring this many people to a corn dog place, then you can sell my house. And I was like, yeah, I can. So in a weird roundabout way, I won him from corn dogs. So.
So I guess I didn't realize that maybe you were doing some influencing outside of the world of real estate. How's that? Is that something that
I love that.
Are you doing more and more of that?
I feel like it's.
Is it becoming part of your business versus you're just doing it because you enjoy it?
It's been. I've had less time lately because I've been trying to form a team.
Yeah.
I've kind of this last, I'd say 8 months, I've kind of taken a step back and really worked on myself and done some reflection on my business. Before that, I love the hidden gem stuff because I get to help small businesses. One of my first real that makes me feel good inside is I guess they go by Twalies, but I say Tailies. It's
okay.
Over on the east side. It is a tamale place. It is one of my top 5 favorite restaurants to go to. I just happened to be there getting lunch and I was like, I'll TikTok it while I'm here. And he left me a voicemail and I still have it. And he was like, thank you so much. I sold out of tamales. And he was like, I've never sold out of food in an hour. And he was like, my food was gone. He's like, I have nothing left. I had to close my shop for the day. And he just kept saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I was like, oh man, I can actually do something that impacts my local community in a different way other than just selling houses. Like I can actually help small businesses that might be struggling. Everybody calls it the Keith Lee effect. And I don't know if you even know who Keith Lee is.
Tell me.
He is a social media influencer with just food. He would go.
The name rings a bell, but I didn't know.
Oh man, his TikToks are great. But there's this Keith Lee effect. Like I go to a restaurant, I showcase it because I have a good following.
Yeah.
A lot of restaurants have called me and been like, oh my God, thank you so much. We sold out, or we did the best day we had all year. And I love that I can help those smaller businesses. I try not to go to franchises if I can help it. I try to go to like the little guys. So that's my favorite part of TikToking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you really are making a difference. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, I like it. And, you know, some of the business owners have come to me and been like, hey, when it comes time for me to sell my house, you're the person I'm calling because you've helped me so I can help you. So it's a nice little community. And, you know, I get to network with other business people as well. So that's also nice.
So tell me about your first year in real estate. You know, so your friend, they finally convince you to get into real estate. You get your license. How'd you decide what the next step was? What brokerage did you start with?
I started with Gallery of Homes. It was a boutique
Deb
brokerage.
Kent.
Yeah, Deb Kent and Jamie. They were, what I loved about them and what I still love about them is they were very, Deb is a genius. She's just, there's almost like a method to her madness, even though there's not. And I really gravitated to her unique way of doing things with real estate. And I think as my mentor, it was really nice to have that person because I don't know that I would have, if I had gone to a box brokerage, I don't know that I would have gotten the same mindset when it came to real estate. But anyway, so I went with the boutique brokerage.
Yeah.
She gave me a couple leads in the beginning, you know, hey, here's a little bit. And I was so appreciative of that because a lot of brokerages don't. And then after she kind of like, you got this, then again, it was Facebook and Facebook Live and doing open houses. And I mean, I really just eat, breathe, sleep real estate. It was a lot. And I didn't have a kid at the time, so I could do it. I just, all the time, real estate. So open houses, a lot of open houses. So.
And how quickly did you know? Well, you had 24 sales in your first year. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah. Well.
So you kind of, it takes 2 or 3 years for a lot of people to figure out whether they could actually make a career out of this.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it was a do or die. I'm a little bit more, even though there's a method to my madness, I feel like for me, it was like, okay, I'm going to save up 4 months worth of income. If in 4 months I have not had X amount of money coming in from my real estate career, then I need to look elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so in that 4 months, I was like, all right. And I saved and saved and saved. I gave my job my 2 weeks notice and I lived off of my bank account for 4 months. And thank God.
That's not, I always talk about with brand new agents having a financial runway, financial wherewithal to make it.
Yeah.
4 months is nothing.
Well, it was sink or swim for me. I think for me, I probably wouldn't have done it that way. I probably would have given myself more of a financial runway, like you're talking about, maybe 8 months, 9 months. But I was so sick of my day job that I was like, I can't do this another soul sucking minute. And so I think because I couldn't take it anymore, it was like, all right, this is it. You don't have a choice. So it really was like, if you don't sell, you don't eat. And that was it. There was no falling back on anything else.
What was your first sale?
Oh man, it was, my first sale was a couple that they wore me out. They wore me out as a new agent because they had all the questions. They had all the things.
Buyer.
It was a buyer. And they proceeded to cuss out the inspector, and the inspector called me and told me I'm leaving. I'm not, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be on the same team. It's one for the books. Like I will never forget that transaction because I don't know how I got the wildest one as my first one, but it was just like, please God, don't let me get sued. Don't let them cuss me out. Like,
and you stuck with it though.
I did. Well, it was my first one. I was like, and it was a referral from.
It closed.
From Deb. Yeah, it closed. And I still keep in contact with them. Like they're people that I'll send them Christmas cards and every once in a while they'll say, look at what we've done to the house since then. And I'm like, looks great, So again, closing psychosis. They just hit it a little earlier. So inspection psychosis.
There's definitely a lot of inspection psychosis.
Yeah.
I really like the closing psychosis because I think the biggest part of the job at the end of the day, I've talked on here before about we're not selling houses, we're selling trust. Mm-hmm. And so much of it is that emotional intelligence that it takes. And I firmly believe that technology disruption, AI, and everything that's coming down the pike way more quickly than people realize. Mm-hmm. the knowledge and the wisdom of a real estate agent, the service that a real estate agent can provide, those things can be automated more easily than the emotional intelligence part.
Yep.
And that possibly could be automated too down the road, but you have to nail on the head with the word connection. And it's that personal connection that makes all the difference.
Yeah, totally agree.
And you're building a team now.
Yes.
And how long's that been going on?
I probably started in April of last year.
Okay,
really,
so that new.
Yeah, it's fairly new. It was, again, out of necessity. I couldn't take there was one month where I lost probably 10 or 15 buyers because I just couldn't service everybody. And a good friend of mine that was an agent was like, "What are you doing?" They were like, "You cannot do this alone. Like, you think you're Superwoman, but you cannot." And I was like, "Okay, you're right. I can't do this all. I can't be everywhere all at once." And so, the huge push for me, I think, what teetered me over.
Yeah.
Because I never wanted a team. I always like,
Did you have transaction coordination help or?
Yeah, I had a transaction coordinator. May has been with me forever. I've told her, like, if anything happens to you, I'm crawling in your grave. Like, I cannot survive without May. But for me, I think it was the year that we had just multiple offers and you had to see the house right now. You had to drop what you were doing right now, because if you didn't, there was, 10 offers and you had 1 hour to respond to everybody. And it just was a nightmare. And at the time, my daughter was probably 3 or 4. And, it was emotional because she was growing and I was missing so much because I kept having to stop what I was doing to leave. And I think the turning point for me was she was playing and, I came home from work. The sitter went home. And while I was sitting there, she was like, "I'll be mommy and you be me." And I was like, "That sounds great." And so I said, "What do you want to play?" And she looked at me and she goes, "Nothing, I'm working," and turned her back to me.
Oh my God.
And when I tell you, that is the most soul crushing thing. I just was like, oh my God. And then I thought, well, maybe she's just, playing. And I was like, "No, play with mom, play with me." And she went, "No, I'm working," and turned her back again. And I was like, "That's it. I'm done. That's it. No more. It ends today." I sobbed all night long. My husband was like, "It'll be okay. You're not ruining her." And I'm like, "Yeah, there's not enough time in the world." I was like, "Nope, that's it." And that was the next day. I was like, I need an admin. I need a team. I need virtual assistants. And it was rapid fire.
And how long ago was this?
This was in April of last year.
Okay.
Her saying that was probably the year before in 2023.
That's what I was wanting, yeah.
But it took me some interviewing other agents that had teams. Like, how do you do this?
Yes.
The one thing that I have had as a challenge being a TikTok agent is that people know me and relate to me.
Yeah.
So when I try to hand them off to a teammate and say, "I promise you'll like them. I've handpicked this person," they still go, "Well, I picked you."
Right.
So there were a lot of hiccups in the beginnings of figuring out how to let go, but also push people to other agents in my team.
That's a challenge for a lot of team leaders. I can totally understand why it would be exacerbated with you, but how have you made that better? That's a challenge that a lot of agents never figure out.
I don't know that I've still figured it out. It's still a work in progress, but I think having the team on my TikToks, now when we do team meetings, we try to show us being funny. I also recognize that my team that I've picked them all because there's something about them that I like, something that is a part of me that I may not have. I have one person on the team that she's young. She's had her license since she was 18, but now she's 20.
Okay.
She's a firecracker, but she's young. So I like to give some of my younger buyers to her because they can speak their Rizzo, Ohio, skibbity, whatever. And I'm like, "Great, you skibbity whatever over there." Then I have Chris, who is part of the LGBTQA community, but he's also in the military.
Okay.
And so I feel like he's got a niche on his own that was really special to me, that I thought that was really cool. So a lot of the people that come from TikTok, I always tell them, you're in safe hands. You're in a safe space. These are people that I've handpicked. They're not just agents that came to me and said, "I want to work with you." These are agents that I went out and said, "I need you to be on my team because I think you have something to bring to the table." And I think that's a little different because I think a lot of team leaders are like, "Well, who will join me?" And I'm like, no, I'm not picking just anyone. So for me, it's having TikTok expose them to. They're in my videos.
Yeah.
We do a lot of buyer seminars now, and when we have the
Okay.
buyer seminars, they're present, and I say, hey, here's my team. If I can't help you, they for sure can. And it's just, I think the handoff is important, that they feel supported.
Yeah.
And I mean, ultimately, I'm a control freak, so I will always have my hand in the transaction in some way, whether it's me checking in and just being like, how's it going? So that they at least get that connection to me, even if it's just by a little.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we're working the bugs out.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
I can understand it being tough.
Yeah.
And so how many people are on your team right now?
So it's terrible, 8 of us now total. 4 agents.
Okay.
But then
Okay.
there's other like service, like staff support as well. So we have 2 virtual assistants. We have an admin. I just hired an admin for my admin because she needed help. So we're growing. I'm just trying to make sure it's a slow growth
Yes.
and not like just jumping in feet first. Because, at the end of the day, I'm a business owner and I don't make smart choices for my business. So.
Yeah. So where do you feel like you are with the team in terms of, I guess really my question is, the main reason that you decided to build a team was the incident with your daughter. And there's a lot of different reasons why people, anytime someone approaches me and said, I want to start a team, I mean, I always ask why.
Why? Yeah.
You also have a lot of opportunities you probably just don't even have time for.
Yeah.
You can't do it all when you're
No.
have the reach that you have gotten to at this point. What are the other benefits that have been outside of, has it actually helped the balance?
It has. I mean, I still struggle during the spring months and the fall. Like my husband knows, like you're the primary parent during those really heavy months that we have, that we just, as agents, we don't have control over. It's just
Right.
that it is what it is. But I'm finding, I just had some medical stuff going on over the winter that it was I was panicking because I was like, oh my gosh, it took longer to heal. I wasn't prepared. And I actually have a Tom Ferry coach. And he was like, listen, this is the best time. I hope everything falls apart for you medically. He's like, I love you, but I want things to fall apart because how are you going to know if your team can thrive without you? So that if something does happen to you or you are gone on vacation, you don't have to keep micromanaging.
What did you learn through that?
Well, my team is thriving just fine. That I cannot have to answer every phone call and I don't have to take every lead that comes in and I don't have to have my hands on all the transactions. Like they're finally finding their rhythm as a team. And so I'm finally getting to, it's like watching my children. Like I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. They're doing so good.
Yeah.
So, their success is my success. And so I put a lot of love and energy into them because I want them to be happy and I want them to stay. I know keeping a team is hard. So I want them to have job satisfaction because I went so long with no job satisfaction in my corporate careers. So keeping the team alive and keeping them happy, we're almost like I always call us the island of misfit toys. Like we're just this really oddball group of agents that don't fit the narrative of agents. And because of that, we always have a lot of fun. When we're eating lunch, we're terrible. I mean,
What do you mean terrible?
we're just, we crack up about things that we probably shouldn't be just we're terrible. We play jokes on each other. We pick at each other. We have a text group, like a text message thread that just is, off the chain sometimes. And so it's really nice to have, I hate using the word family because I feel like that's, but in a way the team has become kind of a family support. And it's nice that it's not just them supporting me, but also when one of them struggles, we all kind of rush in and go, okay, how can we help? How can we take over for your clients? And keeping my team small has allowed us to do that.
Right.
So we can help one another.
You talked about the island of misfit toys.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not that, but how is your audience different than maybe a typical real estate audience?
Man, my clients.
I really
love
don't
my
know the difference. Tell me.
Oh,
I
so
mean, they're attracted to the authenticity, which has to say a lot about them.
yeah, I feel like when I first started real estate, I was told so many times by other mentoring agents, you can't have tattoos, you can't cuss, you can't have your hair a funky color, you can't. And I believed it. I really, truly, because I didn't know any better. I thought, oh, they're right. I need to be professional. I need to present myself. How are you ever going to get a luxury listing, or how are you ever going to get a high-end,
Right.
client if you look like this. And so for the longest time, I wore long sleeve shirts, and I mean, it's cold now, but long sleeve shirts and covered up, and my hair was just black. Like there was nothing to me. And it sounds weird because my daughter is a large theme in my career, but once I had my daughter, and this may be TMI, but when you are giving birth in front of God and everyone, there's a level of give a damn that gets broken. And I was like, why do I care what I look like or what I'm doing? I just did something incredible with my body. And my daughter doesn't care if I have tattoos. And I think that something clicked in my brain that I was like, nope, no more. I'm just going to be myself. If you don't like it. And every client I've had, once I made that shift in my mindset, I mean, I could literally throw the biggest party ever. And I think every client would show up and we'd all get along. We'd all hang out. Like
I can believe that.
yeah, there's so much fun. And even clients that I thought for sure when I met them, like, oh, their budget is X amount. That's a huge budget. I probably should dress, and I meet them and they're in pajamas, like, what's up? And I'm like, oh my God, okay, we're here. Like we're family already. All right. So, it's really changed my perspective on my business and my brand. Like I really hold true to the like authenticity.
What exactly changed your perspective? What do you mean there?
Just having those clients that, I was always statistically told, you better make sure you wear a nice polished suit. Their budget's $900,000. You better be dressed like this. You better make sure your presentation is crisp and, just
right.
And you go in thinking, okay, this is what I got to do. And then when you show up and they're in their pajamas and they're like, what are you doing? I'm telling you, I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, they're legit in their pajamas and they don't care they don't care. And so that's when I realized, like, here I am saying, don't judge me for what I'm looking like, but I'm judging people with a higher income or a higher budget, thinking that they want this polished version when really they're actually sought me out because I'm not that person. And
there's probably a lot of real estate agents that are envious of your ability to liberate from the shackles of the polyester, whatever.
Yeah, I've had a few agents say that they're like, oh.
Yeah, they just don't feel comfortable doing it. But what advice do you have for those folks?
Just do it. Just rip the Band-Aid off. Because, man, it's so freeing. And my job satisfaction is through the roof. I mean, I think once I took that turn where I was like, nope, I'm just going to show up as me. And if they don't like it, they can find another agent. And then I've almost, by stepping into myself and showing my brand as being like, you can be who you want to be and you can show people who you are and get love no matter what you look like or act like from somewhere. I feel like that's when my business actually changed. I think that moment that I was like, oh, I don't have to be stuffy was the second I actually doubled my business. And so I feel like year over year, I keep gaining more and more because more and more people are like, oh, I'm so sick of the fake. They can see fake on social media all day long,
Yeah.
I mean, how many times?
That's plenty.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's life isn't polished and perfect like you see. So, and it's like one of the lessons that I learned in TikTok was I was TikToking a house in Irvington and they make that vitriol tile that's beautiful. It's like that glass tile. Mm-hmm. And there was a bathroom that had a picture of, it was a flamingo. I know what a flamingo is, but I looked dead straight at that tile with my camera and I said, oh my God, look, a penguin. It's so pretty. And didn't even catch myself saying it until I just posted the video because again, I don't edit. It is what it is. And like 900 comments later, it's a flamingo, you idiot.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, you know what? Actually, I'm going to leave that. I'm not. And I was just like, you're right. I'm wrong. And I realized like people can't help themselves. They have to make commentary. They have to be right. They have to whatever. And so I was like, thanks for the algorithm boost while you all talk trash about me because I made one mistake. So I tell agents now, if there's a mistake in your video, don't change it. Leave it. Let them talk all the trash. You can go, oops, sorry, or whatever, however you want to do damage control. But if it's something so stupid like that, then leave it.
There's a lot of trolls out there. I'm sure you have plenty. Have you been able to turn that off so that it doesn't affect your mental health?
It doesn't faze me, not a single day of my life. Like I know there are agents that that get bothered when people say horrible things. But at the end of the day, I think because of my social work history,
Yeah.
I realized like that's on them. I mean, imagine being a miserable person. Like you're so miserable that you come on social media to be an asshole to me. No thanks.
Right.
You can keep that over there on your side of the fence. Like I mean, every once in a while I'll get a little bit of, sarcasm back to them. If they're being saucy, I'll be saucy back. But by and large, when they're nasty, I'm just like, okay. I actually don't have a lot of that though. If I do, it's something dumb like, oh, I hate this house. And I'm like, well, good, then don't buy it. Good for you. So I've somehow managed to kind of stay unscathed in the realm of.
Good. I can see that. I can see why, because you're not afraid to show the mistake. I mean, once you have established I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
Like, hey, okay, this person admits it.
Yeah, I'm like, I am so unbothered. And, I try really hard not to really give them something to fight about, right? Like, I don't talk politics. I don't talk religion. I don't talk those things that we know are going to be inflammatory.
Yeah.
I'm just here to talk about houses and what's cool about them and how I can help you. The rest I just leave at the door because we all are struggling no matter what side. And I feel like we're all in a dumpster fire at all given times. And so it's like, why give attention to that right now? I just want to go over here and dissociate and look at a pretty house.
Yeah. There's plenty of attention on that.
Yeah. Like I'm again, it's creating that safe space for people. Like, okay, if you're going to come over into my TikTok, we're not talking about that. We're going to talk about how cool this house is. We're going to ask some questions and we're going to be civil to one another. And that's what we're going to do. So I can't speak to the trolls because I don't have a lot of them.
Good.
But when I do, if it is something trolly, I'm just like, oh my God, you're miserable. And that's worse than anything you could say, at the end of the day.
So you have one child, a daughter?
Yeah.
Is that right? And how old is she now?
She's 5.
Okay.
5 and crazy. Full of energy. I don't know where she gets that from.
And how is having how is that balance, I guess, with the whole story? Really is an amazing story that you shared. Thanks for sharing it. But if that thing happened today, how would she imitate mom?
I mean, she still recognizes, she said the other day, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize, because I've never heard her say it before. I went to walk out the door and she goes, are you going to go TikTok something? And I was like, what? Like, I don't realize they're sponges.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm actually not going to TikTok something. And she was like, well, you can TikTok me. And I was like, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. We're not TikToking you. Absolutely not.
Do you have any early thoughts on her and social media?
Oh, yeah, absolutely not. No, thanks.
Tell me well, I mean, in terms of her having an account with what do you mean by that?
No. So I recognize that it's such a huge social construct that's happening for us. I also have done the research and the data on mental health and children and teenagers and how social media wreaks havoc on their poor little developing brains. Your amygdala is not even formed until you're 24. So as far as I'm concerned, she cannot have social media until she's 24. But
she might fight you on that.
She might fight me, but I'm going to give the good Girl Scout try that she shall never have one if I can help it. And I mean, I know she will. And again, it's about being safe and safeguards and making sure, like, there are certain apps I probably will be like, absolutely not. Snapchat, never. There are just some platforms that I probably will put parental controls on because I know what's happening.
Right.
And so for me, I actually have a large distaste for parents who use their children as bait for social media and for content. It makes me insane. So as far as she'll never know social media as far as I can help it. And she's going to see it because of me. In fact, YouTube, one of my newsletters, all my newsletters go on my YouTube so that my clients can see them.
Okay.
And so she pulled up Peppa Pig or something and my YouTube popped up and she went, Mommy, you're on TV. And I was like, scroll. Because I don't want her. I'm going to continue to shield her until she gets it, hopefully a long time away from now. But
well, you've built something here amazing relatively quickly. What are you most proud of?
Just the growth just, I think we've done a lot of really cool things with real estate, through social media. I'm, I know I'm not the only like creative type of real estate agent. I know there are so many more of us out there, but I think my biggest, um, like for me, when I'm like, oh, that's an accomplishment, is when other agents go, oh, I wish I could live authentically. I'm like, you absolutely can be yourself and be a good agent. And so when I have an agent that's like, you know what, I listened to you and I did that thing and now I have joy, I'm like, you got it. I think to me that's more important than anything. It's just like letting people just exist and be okay with existing as they are.
It's working for you.
Yeah.
I like to ask, what kind of music are you listening to?
Oof. You guys would probably think I'm going to burn in hell with the music
I highly
listen
doubt
to.
it.
I listen to a lot of, well, actually I listen to a lot of things, really. I have a pretty diverse, I have a really deep love of music.
Me too.
My husband is a classically trained cellist.
Wow.
So he will be in Starbucks and be like, oh, this is Mozart's 27th Symphony in the 5th. And I'm like, ew. But, which I love about him. But I listen to a lot of like hardcore music and like metal.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm a big metalhead.
Yeah. So I am an old punk rocker-ish at heart.
You don't look like one.
Oh, man. I know, right? I'm just like, I love that music, but I also...
Like what kind of bands are we talking?
Like Most Precious Blood and Comeback Kid and just things like that. But somehow my daughter has turned me into a slight Swiftie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
that's a little different than
honestly. If you
rock.
told 20-something-year-old Summer that she'd be listening to Taylor Swift, she would have been like, hoo. But I went to her concert and I was shook.
Shook.
I was shook.
I haven't been, so I really haven't experienced. But everybody acts like it's an event.
It was probably one of the top concerts I've ever been to. And I mean, I've been to hundreds. That is a genius woman, genius marketing, genius connection. Again, she totes that line of like, I don't know that I've ever really seen trash about her. Right? I feel like when TMZ or somebody's looking for trash on her, it's her boyfriend that's sketch. We've all had sketch boyfriends, whatever. But I feel like there's never been a damning thing about her. And I think that's refreshing, like, especially as a role model for younger women.
Yeah.
Like, you look at her and you're like, all right, she really doesn't have any tea. And even when she's talking politics or when they ask, like, I don't know how she gets away with just being so neutral.
Mm-hmm.
And she caters to everyone. And she's a marketing genius. I think just watching her show, I was like,
you find her to be, I really don't know, but you find her to be authentic.
No.
Okay.
I don't.
So that's interesting.
No, I don't think she's authentic. I don't think she's allowed to be. I think she lives as authentically as she can within the realm of the business that she's in. She has way more eyes on her than most people.
Oh yeah.
And I think there comes almost like a diplomatic part of that. It's kind of like queens and kings and like you have to show.
Play the part.
Yeah, and I think she knows that, and I think the respect for me comes from. There have been times that I have come unglued and been like, that was probably not the most professional way to say something to somebody, or I've said something I probably shouldn't have said, and I feel like Taylor Swift never does. Like she never steps out of line. Like she's always able to contain it, and so though I don't think she's living her authentic self because she has too many eyes on her to do so. I do think she's a genius when it comes to business.
For sure.
And as a woman entrepreneur, I look at her and I go, you are a bad bee,
How has your being different than the average real estate professional ever gotten you into hot water with anything? I mean, what kind of controversy or confrontation have you dealt with because
what can I say on a podcast?
You can say whatever the hell you want.
I had an agent, and honestly, it was a recipe for disaster. I had an agent who said, no, you can't show my listing. And I was really kind and like, I understand it may seem weird for me to ask to showcase your listing, but I promise you I'm not trying to take it. And he was an ass to me. I'm just just rude. And so I was already pumped up and I was trying to be diplomatic and be like, okay, I recognize you don't understand what this is for, and he was like, go get your own listing, and hung up on me. And I was like, okay, you're an ass, you're whatever. The very next phone call I made was to another agent. And she also was like, why would I do that? And then I sent her a text message like, hey, if you change your mind, this is why, here's my following. And she put, go get your own listing again.
Wow.
And I put back, I have my own listing. And then I took my anger over into Instagram, where I may have said, go fuck yourself to this person on camera. Because I was just so mad.
I totally get it.
I was just like, you don't have to be an ass, but you were an ass. And so at the time, though, I had screenshot the text message to show, because really it was more like, hey, other agents, you know, look, you don't have to be an asshole to everybody. And so my goal when I was going on my rant was, here's this text message of this agent being a jerk to me. And I said, go fuck yourself, or whatever it was. And I didn't realize that her name and number was at the top of the screenshot because I was so mad. I just reacted.
I didn't hear about this.
Oh my God.
What happened from there?
Well, I always add agents on social media before I TikTok their property so that I can tag them. I had added her before this scenario happened, so she automatically saw my post. And so she, of course, filed a report with MyBor and, cried these big tears about how damning it was for her business when, okay, your 300 followers that are not in common with me did not see it, but I get it. So I fell on the sword and apologized because, again, it's a relationship business. We have to keep professional.
It is.
So I was like, I'm sorry. I told you to go fuck yourself. It was hard.
Did she accept the apology?
No, I don't think so. But I mean, yes, and yes, but no.
Right.
So, but it was a lesson, I now have a friend that when I am at that point of like, I'm going to say something I shouldn't, my friend D'Angela, I will call her and be like, I need you to be that I'm about to lose my mind right now. And she's like, all right, what happened? And then I'll tell her what happened and I'll cuss and I'll do all the things. And I'm like, thank you. I feel better now. So I now have a person to direct that energy to, because I am not a Taylor Swift and I will come at you if you really truly get to that part of me,
What do you think is the main reason most agents say no? Or do they tell you a reason you ever?
90% of the time, no. I think, so I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. You've been in the industry way longer than I have. I feel like for such a long time, real estate was more of a competitive industry. And I feel like this new generation of agents is more collaborative. And so I come from a collaborative mindset where I'm like, hey, let me help. Let's help each other here. You got a listing that's been sitting on the market 200 days. I got some buyers that are sitting in a pool waiting for the right one. Let me help you. But I think some of the older agents, the resistance comes from, well, that's my listing. Right. Those are my clients. That's my cool listing, not yours. Or how dare you thrive from my expertise, right? And it's like, nobody's coming for you. Like, congratulations on your cool listing. Let's help each other out.
I think generationally, there's a big part of that is true. And I definitely believe in the last 5-10 years or so, collaboration has been more important. And there has been a shift. I think there really has.
It's not a bad thing.
No, it's a great thing.
Yeah.
I know that's the most important thing to me at our brokerage is having people that want to collaborate.
Yeah.
And, not everybody always does, but, we're looking for people that want to. Your team's looking for people that want. I mean, you are.
Yeah.
And I think the industry's going that way, which is a great thing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you're shitty to somebody, it's like, look, we both want to get the finish. Like, we both want to get to closing. You want a paycheck. I want a paycheck. My buyer wants a house. Your seller wants to sell their house. Like, there is no reason to come at each other. Again, removing your emotion from it. Like, let's just get to the finish line here and make it out as unscathed as possible, so.
Well, Summer, it's been amazing sitting down with you. Thank you for coming in and having a conversation with me.
I appreciate it.